the deck profile of Burning Abyss. So look, so let's start it off, right? You have the two lava golems. Lava golems are very good because it's basically a kaiju. So whenever it is that you want to kaiju tribute a monster, obviously your opponent's monster, right? Um, you can not only tribute one, you can tribute two, right? Especially in today's gameplay, the way that people play games nowadays, as far as Yu-Gi-Oh is concerned, they want to be able to summon out big boards. So when you're able to have the tribute two, right? The tribute two requirement, you basically crack or break the opponent's board, and then you have right? The unexplainables, the things that you should already know. Three Seer, right? Monster Reborn. Three Rhino. This is great because Rhino makes it so that uh whenever it is that you special summon out your other Burning Abyss monsters, it does not destroy itself. Because with Burning Abyss, you have to be very careful. Burning Abyss is very consistent, but do not mix Burning Abyss monsters with too many other mash, and mix ups of too much other things. Burning Abyss does well and it is consistent the most with other Burning Abyss cards, right? So the only type of mashup that you can do is with Rhino and Tour Guide. But don't worry, we're gonna get the Tour Guide. Another thing that I wanted to say about the Seer is that Seer is very good for your combinations when it comes to um, that and Dante, right? Dante, especially if you have Dante, or I should say a Seer, right? Exceeds into Dante. This is a very good combination because when Dante and Seer touch the grave, when they hit the grave, both, no matter how, as long as they touch the grave and they stay there, right, successfully, no matter what happens, you get a plus. You get reoccursion because Dante makes it so that, right, you get a card back to your hand automatically, right, or the extra deck or wherever, right. You get reoccursion, and then with Seer also creates reoccursion because Seer is a built-in monster reborn with legs. So what happens is that when you have Seer equipped to Dante, you basically send it, boom, right? You activate Dante Chain Link 1, Seer Chain Link 2. That way, Seer brings back Dante. Dante's effect activates, and you get a Burning Abyss monster from your graveyard to your hand, right? Depending on if it comes from the extra deck, then you get it in the back to the extra deck, right? So, or sometimes you could even switch it. Sometimes you can switch it to where it's Seer Chain Link 1 and then you have Dante Chain Link 2, which will get which will ultimately probably do the reverse. So try it out in different ways. Then like it is that I said you had Rhino, right? Rhino is pretty good because Rhino is also a Burning Abyss substitute as well, right? What I like to do is that I like to whenever it is that Rhino hits the grave, I like to have Rhino hit the grave, let Rhino touch the grave, boom, then go into Graph, then go into Scarm. Or maybe I may go into other utility. I may go from Rhino to Graph into Farfa, just in case if I want to create interruption, right? Banish a person's monster, my opponent's monster for the rest of the turn. Or maybe I may go from Rhino to Graph into Seer in case I want to bring something back from the grave. But I usually like to go from Rhino, Graph to Scarm because what's happening is I'm able to constantly thin out my deck. My deck is constantly floating. Boom, Rhino, right? Rhino's effect activates. Boom, right? To Graph, then the Scarm. At the end of the turn, if my opponent destroys the monster Scarm, and Scarm hits the grave, boom, then I go get one. I go get one. Well, no, not this, but I go get one of these, any one of these. So 3, 6, 9, 12. Scarm of itself, okay, is either, well, Scarm can't really get another Scarm, but you're able to get 9 monsters out of the deck, right? You're able to get this Farfa, Graph, or Tour Guide right at the end of the turn. Then with Tour Guide is amazing because Tour Guide is not only a +1, but Tour Guide does amazing in Burning Abyss because guess what? It negates the opponent. It negates the Burning Abyss effect to destroy itself when a non face up Burning Abyss monster is not on the field. So it's a +1. And the thing about it is that so next you have Dark Eruption. And Dark Eruption makes it so that again more reoccursion. Because the whole emphasis of Burning Abyss is consistency. You're wearing your opponent down over time because you always have plays that you can make. And you're utilizing the extra deck to speed up the wearing down of the opponent while they're using their resources. You're continuing to regain your or obtain your resources as they're using their resources while you're essentially beating them down, wearing them down. So the Dark Eruption is able to get, it's basically like a reincarnation, a monster reincarnation from the graveyard, but for dark monsters. So with Dark Eruption, I'm able to get Farfa, Graph, Tour Guide, Skarm. And all of these monsters are fiends, including Lava Golem is a fiend too. Okay, because Dark Eruption is 1500 or less. As long as it's a dark as well. So what's this? So that's 3, 6, 9, 12. That's 12 monsters that I can choose. And I have Dark Eruption 3 times just in case if I need what? My resources back. Sometimes in late games, in some games, you could be playing against an opponent and the opponent is good. Sometimes when you know that you're facing someone that's good and you're good yourself, you can find your resources drying up. Just like they could find their resources drying up. So guess what? The two of you now have little resources. You have to be able to make fast decisions. So guess what? Dark Eruption is reoccursion. You're able to keep going even though your engine has ran out. Your resources ran out. Their resources ran out. And then you have of course the triple tactics, the 3 triple tactics, 3 thrusts. Why? Why 3 of both? Because triple tactics is a draw 2. It's a hand rip, and it's also a non-targeting change of heart. And all it is that you need is an opponent to react and activate their monster's effect. Which most people have monsters that activate their effects on either turn now, because people want to create interruption. They don't want to stop the person from playing. They want to interrupt the person. So then you have a triple tactics thrust. Why? Because thrust is literally an add any spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Any one of them. So it's broken. So the thing about it is with thrust, I like to go to evenly matched. Or I can go to some other cards that we're going to get into. I can go to Herald of the Abyss. Right? Then with Upstart, right? Upstart, of course, it just even furthermore helps the consistency. Sometimes in certain cases, Upstart can be a +2. If you go second, because I like to go second. Now you can go first or second with this deck, but I like to go second most times, unless my opponent wins the dice roll and then they basically have me go first. But I like to go second. Okay, and let's just say I do go second, maybe even first, and I have 5 cards, or I go second, and I have 6 cards. Boom, activate Upstart Goblin. Boom. So now that's my 7th card. Because the thing is that I'm replacing this card with another card. I'm replacing Upstart with another card. I'm literally going from drawing what I would have drawn, right? And maybe it isn't Upstart. Maybe I drew Upstart from the start and I still activated Upstart. Guess what? That's one more card that I don't have to worry about hard drawing. And then sometimes in late games, you may want to activate Upstart because, again, your resources may be running dry. Your opponent's resources may be running dry. Then when you draw an Upstart and you go, okay, I activate Upstart, and the opponent doesn't have any way to stop it, you're able to actually draw into another card that really can help. Sometimes you need to be able to draw an extra card, just dig deeper into your deck, and it creates all the difference while you're in a duel. Because sometimes you're broken, your broken draw, or a draw that can help you win or could lead you to win in a big way after you basically came back from a would been loss, is from just a matter of drawing cards, right? Thinning out that deck. Remember, the theme of Burning Abyss is to wear the opponent down over time while being consistent. So the thing about Burning Abyss is you want to maintain hand control as much as possible. And then you have Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is just a starter card. Foolish Burial is just in case if you don't get any monsters, you don't get any triple tactics. Let's just say you don't get Upstart, right? You don't get droplets. You don't get the engines that get your cards going, that gets your entire deck going. Boom, Foolish Burial. You activate Foolish Burial, go into Rhino, go into Graph. So that's 2 cards that you just helped thin out from just this one card. So boom, Foolish, Graph. So excuse me, Foolish, Rhino, Rhino, Graph, Graph, Scarm, or Farfa, right? Or Graph, Seer, in case you want to bring back the Graph, right? Middle game or late game. But for starters, right, just in case if you don't have any other starting cards, anything that can really get the engine going. Well, Droplet doesn't get it going, but just in case this doesn't really get it going, you really have to have momentum in the first place. But or some form of way to be able to create the momentum from nothing, just in case if the opponent wants to keep activating their effects, but on your turn. But Foolish Burial is basically like Upstart Goblin, just to be able to help. So instead of getting into your hand, you're getting into the grave. So boom, don't have any other engine that gets it going, right? Rhino, Graph, Scarm, end phase, get Tour Guide. Tour Guide, summon Tour Guide. You get any one of, well, except for Rhino. You get any one of them except for Rhino, but you get and Lava Golem. But you get any one of them now. So now it Foolish Burial gets it going. Monster Reborn, again, more reoccursion. Monster Reborn is a Dark Eruption, but for the field. Any, including the other person's monster that uh, is in their grave. Any monster you want. Target any monster in either person's graveyard. Special summon it in any position, whether it's attack or defense position. This comes in handy because not only is it a bomb, right? As far as late game is concerned, right? Just get the opponent to not really expect it coming. But also, Monster Reborn can also be to extend the plays. Like I said, you need to be able to make a play no matter if it's the opponent's turn or if it's your turn. Wear your opponent out. Herald of the Abyss. With this deck, you have so many monsters on the field, or with this deck, you always want to have one monster on the field at least. so that you're able to actually manage what's happening on the field. Herald of the Abyss is a non-targeting sending card that interacts with the person's um, with the actual player of itself. This has gotten rid of Crooked Cook. Herald of the Abyss has gotten rid of Crooked Cook. Have gotten rid of um, has gotten rid of Punisher, Psychic and Punisher. Herald of the Abyss has gotten rid of extremely problematic boss monsters because not only does it not target, not only does it not destroy, it sends, and it bypasses the monster, it bypasses the monster's effects, okay? And it goes straight to the player of itself. It actually forces the player to interact of itself and not the monsters. So Herald of the Abyss is broken, and I don't understand why more people do not play it. And because of this one card, I have an advantage over almost every single player on earth, of almost, just from this one card, because most people don't play it because they don't want to pay the 1,500. But this card is absolutely broken. And then with Droplet is amazing because you're playing Burning Abyss. When you have Burning Abyss monsters in your hand, you send them. Not only does it, right, especially during the battle phase or something like this, it's a non-targeting negate the opponent's monster, and on top of that, it halves their attack points. It halves their attack points and it negates their effects. So not only is it a Dark Ruler no more, but it halves their attack points, and it's a quick play. So you can activate it offensively or counter offensively or defensively whenever it is that your opponent is attacking you or whenever you go to attack your opponent. Not three. Not three. When you have three is too much. You have to discard too many cards, too many of your resources, and then you still have to make a play on top of that. Evenly, of course, especially coupled up with Forbidden Droplet, drop your monsters, drop your Burning Abyss monsters, plus off of them in chains, right? Plus chains, you plus off of them, infinite plus, you half your opponent's attack points, and you negate their effects in, right, battle phase, right, or in the damage step. Boom, smack into them. More than likely, you win that battle, right, between monsters. Not only do you win the battle, right, your monster, your opponent's monsters go to the graveyard, and on top of that, right, you negated their effects because they can't pull some tricky stuff, and you also plussed off of that. Then with evenly matched, coupled up with evenly matched, let's just say your opponent does end up winning that small incremental battle, that battle phase, right? Boom, right? Droplet, you don't take so much damage, and on top of that, you have evenly matched. So even if they do win that little small little incremental win, they win that battle, boom, right? They end up losing because um that or they end up getting punished from it because now they have more cards on the field than you. So now they have to send all of that on top of that ban to the banish pile face down so they don't get their effects because it's face down. Paleozoic, it's better than Burning Abyss Lake. It's better than Ghastly because you can activate it at any point on your opponent's turn. Whether it's chain, you can activate it on their draw phase, standby phase. You can activate it at any point in time, and the monster brings itself back out, so it doubles as a monster of itself too. 3 Zeus. You always want to erase the board. Again, non-targeting send monster. This is basically this divisor, right? 2 divisor. It's like a cyber dragon It's like a cyber dragon infinity, scoops up the opponent's monster, and it's a 3000 beat stick. It get overlays. This monster divisor gets overlaid with this. This one right here though. This one right here. Um, can also be like an instant destruction, okay? To where this card cannot be destroyed by battle, but it automatically destroys the opponent's monster and it inflicts 500 damage to the opponent. So burn. Then Nightmare Shark, creates direct attack, right, through your opponent's monsters, through your opponent's board, right, successfully if it's successful, so that you can attach Zeus. Then you have Dante, Recursion, and the last two cards is Little Knight. Banish your opponent's monsters. This deck does not have a hard time creating Xyz monsters. Little Knight is broken because all it takes is two effect monsters. Boom. Two effect monsters. And and this deck special summons for free. But guess what? The added effect. If this monster is linked from using if this effects monster is linked using any one of these, whether it's a fusion, synchro, Xyz, right? All of these or another link monster, guess what? Target one card on the field or in the graveyard, banish it. Boom. How hard is it to make this in Burning Abyss? Two effect monsters? All of my monsters are effect monsters. So if you do it correctly, this deck is broken.